Yeah, you know, I personally have found that alcoholics let you down and are less responsible generally than others even. And in any kind of a business endeavor like that, if someone would ask me to do something like that, I would get money up front from anyone, especially the alcoholic.
I know, but there were those old ladies that always sit back here and...
I know. I heard them talking about it today.
Just because you get the program doesn't mean that you get the office.
No, I mean, it's almost the opposite. So I would have got a phone number, and I would have got the money up front. And from now on, do that, because then you always got to think the worst. You always got to believe that, if they're going to do that, and then that way you keep yourself from having any resentments. Because if you would have had the money, you wouldn't care. You could care less whether or not you came and picked it up, right? So, in the future, to keep yourself from getting resentments and stuff, it's like, okay, I'll do it, but I do special things like that, but I do require the money up front. And if they don't like it, then too bad. You know what I mean? Then that would have saved it right there. Hey, what time is it? Are we going to start this meeting or what?
Starter.
All right. Welcome to the Language of the Heart meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. My name is Marilyn. I'm an alcoholic. Hi. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to have Tom read how it works, because he does it really fast. And then we'll get on with our discussion.
That's how it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has solely followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. It's usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates, they're not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping, developing, and mental living which demand rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, what we're like now. If you decide you want what we have and are willing to go any length to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. And some of these we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness of our command, we beg you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, and powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. But there is one who has all power, that one is God. May you find him now. Half measures avail us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program recovery. 1. We admitted we were positive over alcohol, that lies had become manageable. 2. Came to believe that the power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. We admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all his defects of character. 7. Humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed, and became willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admit it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our contact with God as we understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry it out. Step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening and all these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Many of us exclaim, what an order, I can't get through with it. Not be discouraged, no one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We're not saints. The point is that we want to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guides of progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter's agnostic, and our personal adventure before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. A, that we were alcoholics and could not manage our own lives. B, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. And C, that God could and would if we were sought.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Okay, great. Now, in this meeting, what we do is we read from Language of the Heart, which is a collection of Bill Wilson's articles he wrote to the Grapevine. And then we have a discussion on our experiences as it pertains to what we have just read. And there's no rules as far as sharing. If you want to share several times or for as long as you want, feel free to. So tonight we're going to read on page 269. What is acceptance? By the way, if you want to buy these books, they're $11, the hardback, Language of the Heart. Jim says that they're the second most important literature next to the big book. So let's start on page 269. What is acceptance? One way to get at the meaning of the principle of acceptance is to meditate upon it in the context of AA's much-used prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Essentially, this is to ask for the resources of grace by which we may make spiritual progress under all conditions. Greatly emphasized is this wonderful prayer is a need for the kind of wisdom that discriminates between the possible and the impossible. We shall also see that life's formidable array of pains and problems will require many different degrees of acceptance as we try to apply this valued principle. Sometimes we have to find the right kind of acceptance for each day. Sometimes we need to develop acceptance for what may come to pass tomorrow, and yet again, we shall have to accept a condition that may never change. Then, too, there frequently has the right and realistic acceptance of grievous flaws within ourselves and serious faults within those about us, defects that may never fully, that may not be fully remedied for years, if ever.
Excuse me, what page?
269 we started. We're on 270 now, the top of 270.
Thank you.
Okay. All of us will encounter failures, some retrievable and some not. We shall often meet with defeat, sometimes by accident, sometimes self-inflicted, and at still other times dealt to us by the injustice and violence of other people. Most of us will meet up with some degree of worldly success, and here the problem of the right kind of acceptance will be really difficult. Then there will be illness and death. How indeed shall we be able to accept all these? It is always worthwhile to consider how grossly that good word, acceptance, can be misused. It can be warped to justify nearly every brand of weakness, nonsense, and folly. For instance, we can accept failure as a chronic condition forever without profit or remedy. We can accept worldly success pridefully as something wholly of our own making. We can accept illness and death as certain evidence of a hostile and godless universe. With these twistings of acceptance, we AAs have vast experience. Hence, we constantly try to remind ourselves that these perversions of acceptance are just gimmicks for excuse-making, a losing game at which we are, or at least have been, the world's champions. We are to digress for a second, we are the champions of rationalization and justification. And that's what he's talking about here, that acceptance, like we can say, oh, okay, I accept my situation because I have no money, when it's actually the fact that we're lazy and we don't look for a job that we have no money. Or we can accept the fact that we have lung cancer when we've been smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day and caused it ourselves. So in other words, acceptance is different than justification and rationalization, as those things are, and that's what he's talking about in this paragraph, that it's not all about just accepting the things we cannot change, but it's also about changing the things we can. And this is why we treasure our serenity prayer so much. It brings a new light to us that can dissipate our old-time and nearly fatal habit of fooling ourselves. In the radiance of this prayer, we see that defeat, rightly accepted, need be no disaster. We now know that we do not have to run away, nor ought we again try to overcome adversity by still another bulldozing power drive that can only push up obstacles before us faster than they can be taken down. Upon entering AA, we become the beneficiaries of a very different experience. Our new way of staying sober is literally founded upon the proposition that of ourselves we are nothing. The Father doeth the works. In steps 1 and 2 of our own recovery program, these ideas are specifically spelled out. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. We couldn't lick alcohol with our own remaining resources, and so we accepted the further fact that dependence upon higher power, if only our AA group could do this hitherto impossible job. The moment we were able to fully accept these facts, our release from the alcoholic compulsion had begun. For most of us, this pair of acceptances had required a lot of exertion to achieve. Our whole treasured philosophy of self-sufficiency had to be cast aside. This self-sufficiency, once many people try to keep this going and say, no matter what happens, don't drink. If your ass falls off, put it in a wagon and drag it to a meeting. They're telling you to be self-sufficient instead of God-sufficient, which is totally against the program. What I love, what Jim always teaches us, is that if it's not in the big book, or to always test everything that people say to, where is that in the big book and where is God in that equation? And self-sufficiency is not the first step. In fact, it's the opposite. The first step is that we're powerless over alcohol, not don't drink no matter what. It's the exact opposite. This had not been done with the old-fashioned willpower. It was instead a matter of developing the willingness to accept these new facts of living, to accept that we need a power other than ourselves, a power greater than ourselves. We neither ran nor fought, but accept we did, and then we were free. There had been no irretrievable disaster. This kind of acceptance and faith is capable of producing 100% sobriety. In fact, it usually does, and it must, else we could have no life at all. For us, to drink is to die. And that's why we could have no life at all, because if we drink, we die. It's always fatal. But the moment we carry these attitudes into our emotional problems, we find that only relative results are possible. Nobody can, for example, be completely free from fear, anger, and pride. Hence, in this life, we shall attain nothing like perfect humility and love. Because, and the reason for that is, God is able to remove our character defects 100%. However, the world will continue to threaten us. And that's why we will never be free from fear, anger, and pride, because our emotions will always be threatened, and that's why these things crop up. That's why we have the 10th and 11th step, to cut the grass every day and be able to deal with these things as they crop up. And crop up they do. So we shall have to settle, respecting most of our problems, for a very gradual progress, punctuated sometimes by heavy setbacks. Don't you hate those heavy setbacks? Just when you think you're getting, so spiritual, something happens and you can't believe it's you. Our old-time attitudes of all or nothing will have to be abandoned. But, you know, the good thing is we have the 10th and 11th step, so we can still call wrong and ask God to remove it instead of having to rationalize and justify our actions. If we have a burst of inappropriate behavior, we have a 10th step so we can apologize rather than rationalizing and justifying, oh, I've got 5 years, I shouldn't be doing stuff like that, so I'm going to rationalize what I did to that person. No. It's, you know, if you did something wrong, you promptly admit it. And that's a lifetime experience. Okay. Therefore, our very first problem is to accept our present circumstances as they are. Call wrong. Ourselves as we are. And the people about us as they are. Find our current reality. Don't justify. Don't rationalize. Admit it. And so that we can change it. This is to adopt a realistic humility about which no genuine advance can even begin. Again and again, we shall need to return to that unflattering point of departure. You know, it's very unflattering. Every day I do my 11th step, and every day I'm selfish and I'm resentful. I'm selfish and I'm resentful, and I'm going, oh my gosh. Am I going to go through a day where I'm not selfish or resentful? I hope so. But at least I'm calling it what it is, and asking God to remove it instead of rationalizing and justifying it. This is an exercise in acceptance that we can profitably practice every day of our lives, and provided we strenuously avoid turning these realistic surveys of the facts of life into unrealistic alibis for apathy or defeatism. See, in the 11th step, it says that, wait, let me just flip it real quick. But we must be careful, page 86 of the big book, we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflections, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. So, when we do our 11th step in this, in finding our present reality, we strenuously avoid turning these realistic surveys of life into unrealistic alibis for apathy or defeatism. Oh, I'm so terrible. No, it's look at it the way it is, ask God to remove it, do better tomorrow, and you're building your character. They can be the sure foundation upon which increased emotional health and therefore spiritual progress can be built. The 11th step, spiritual progress. At least this seems to be my own experience. Another exercise that I practice is to try for a full inventory of my blessings and then for right acceptance of the many gifts that are mine, both temporal and spiritual. Here I try to achieve a state of joyful gratitude. When such a brand of gratitude is repeatedly affirmed and pondered, it can finally displace the natural tendency to congratulate myself on whatever progress I may have been enabled to make in some areas of living. I try hard to hold fast to the truth and that a full and thankful heart cannot entertain great conceits. Any good that we have comes from God. It's not of us. If it was up to us, we'd all be drunk. When brimming with gratitude, one's heartbeat must surely result in outgoing love, the finest emotion that we can ever know. I'm going to finish this up. There's so many points here. I know it's full of meat here, but I want to get through the whole thing because this is quite a chapter and we've never gone through it before. In times of very rough going, the grateful acceptance of my blessings, oft repeated, can also bring me some of the serenity of which our prayer speaks. Whenever I fall under acute pressures, I lengthen my daily walks and slowly repeat our serenity prayer in rhythm to my steps and breathing. If I feel, that reminds me of what they were talking about in the other meeting today about the exercise. If I feel that my pain has in part been occasioned by others, I try to repeat, God grant me the serenity to love their best and never fear their worst. Praying for others. This benign healing process of repetition, sometimes necessary to persist with for days, has seldom failed to restore me to at least a workable emotional balance and perspective. This is the praying for others. When we get a resentment, we pray for others. And just like they said in the meeting there, this brings the exercise into it too. Just getting rid of resentment, taking a walk, praying for others, that you have at least a workable emotional balance or perspective. Another helpful step is to steadfastly affirm the understanding that pain can bring. Indeed, pain is one of our greatest teachers, though I still find it difficult to accept today's pain and anxiety with any great degree of serenity, as those more advanced in spiritual life seem to be able to do. I can, if I try hard, give thanks for present pain. Nevertheless, I find the willingness to do this by contemplating the lessons learned from past suffering, lessons which have led to the blessings I now enjoy. How many times have you been in a situation where you thought it was the absolute worst thing that ever happened to you, and then afterwards you could look back and say, wow, that actually was a blessing. That actually was a good thing. So this is what he's talking about here, that when he's in pain, he says, okay, in the past, my pain has brought me blessings, so I have no reason to believe that this pain won't bring me blessings still. Okay, I can remember, if I insist, how the agonies of alcoholism, the pain of rebellion and thwarted pride have often led me to God's grace. Who of us would have been this close to God if it wasn't for the fact that we almost died with our alcoholism? Who of us would be sitting here on Saturday night at 10:30 talking about God, if we weren't alcoholics? Anyway, I can remember, if I insist, how the agonies of alcoholism, the pain of rebellion, and thwarted pride have often led me to God's grace, and so to a new freedom. So as I walk along, I repeat still other phrases such as, pain is the touchstone of progress. Fear no evil. This too will pass. This experience can turn to benefit. These fragments of prayer bring far more than mere comfort. They keep me on the track of right acceptance. They break up my compulsive themes of guilt, depression, rebellion, and pride. And sometimes they endow me the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. To those who have never given these potent exercises and acceptance a real workout, I recommend them highly the next time the heat is on, or for that matter, any time. Woo! Who's first? There's about 8 million subjects there, right?
I wanted to talk about alcoholic.
Hey, Tom.
When you were talking about being thankful for the pain of situations I just went, that I've gone through. I've been married twice, and I'm glad. I went through the first one where I was completely drunk, and I got sober through it because she left me, and And my second one, I think about, well, what goes around comes around. I really screwed my first wife, and so I got screwed with my second wife. Hopefully I won't make the same mistake the third time, because I learned all the stuff I did, and I was a stinking drunk. I got married and then sat at home and smoked dope in her house and her trailer. She was in the Air Force, and I would have just ruined everything for her if she would have got busted. She did the right thing by getting rid of me, and I got sober. 5 years sober, I did it again. I got married, and 3 months after I got married, I was filed for bankruptcy. And I'm not really sure what I learned from that. I'm glad that everything I've done in the past has taught me what I know today. I used to think it was, oh God, I wish it hadn't happened. I wish I'd go out there and kill him. But I put myself in each situation. I put myself in that first marriage because I wanted to get out of the little town I was in. I was drunk, and of course she left me a year and 4 months after I was married. Second wife, You know, I wanted to just go out and get married. One time I decided I wanted to get married. Found her. 9 months later, I was married. You know, and then the whole time we were living together, I mean, she was living with me a week after I met her. After I made the decision to go get married, I went out and found a woman, had her move in with me. It wasn't even a week. It was the next weekend. You know, and you know, her and my credit cards. You know, that was a learning experience, a very expensive learning experience. I've been in relationships since then, and where I've learned, and I saw the same behaviors, and I was real careful, and I didn't let those things happen again. Well, I did once. Well, it wasn't as bad. It was a good relationship the whole week we were together. And I'm grateful for all that stuff happened in my past, because it makes me who I am today. Pass. I'm done.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, I'm not look.
Hey.
Okay?
Acceptance. Acceptance is huge. Accepting that I was an alcoholic and drug addict was a moment for me, you know, because for the longest time I lived in a world, you know, where I made myself look better to people. You know, I mean, there was a few that knew me, but I didn't let a lot of people in at all. So they didn't really know me, you know. They knew what I told them and a little bit that they seen. And what they seen wasn't me. You know, I was a totally different person. My wife, when I got married, didn't know me. She knew nothing about what I was doing. As far as I quit drinking for a while for her because it was something that she wanted me to do, not to be hanging out with my friends. And I figured, okay, I'll play that role. You know, I'll do that to just to make things bearable at home. And I did that. I threw myself into work, and I'd work a lot of hours, and then I'd work on the weekends. So I'd give her money, so she would leave. When she left, I would buy cocaine, which, you know, isn't alcohol, but I would drink also, you know. And she knew nothing about this. You know, she knew nothing about it. I hate it so good that, you know, like they say, you know, I hear it all the time. You know, we're great at what we do. There's a lot of smart people. I mean, to live with somebody for that long, you know, for 3 or 4 years, and not to know that they were doing these kind of things, I couldn't imagine that I would be able to live with somebody and not know that they were doing this, you know. And she had no idea, you know. She had no idea, and therefore, and coming back to acceptance, I started to believe my own stories. You know, what I told people and stuff, I started to believe it. Until I think last year, I've only been here since December. I came down here on December 5th of last year. But I think like in about around this time, I started looking at myself and looking in the mirror. When I looked in the mirror, and I remember, I think telling somebody, you know, some story about something or other. You know, I was lying, of course. And then I looked at myself and I said, you know, all yours is a liar. Pretty much, you know. Your whole life has been lying to this person, telling another guy to this guy, and then trying to remember these lies, you know, and it was too much for me. I didn't deal with it anymore. You know, for me to accept that I was an alcoholic and drug addict was huge, you know, and this is where all this has started for me. I mean, I don't share very often, and when I do it, you know, but just minimize what's on the subject, you know. I don't like to come and tell people, you know, if I had a rough day or whatever, because it's not about that, you know. It's about learning what I need to do for my recovery, for me, you know, what I need to learn, find out about myself, and that's what I'm getting out of all this from what I do. Is I try to learn something every day. You know, I go to these meetings, and I mean, I go to a lot of them. I mean, I see you around, and I go to a lot of them, and it's weird because I think I stopped growing emotionally when I was 13 years old, because that's when I first started picking up. And I was talking about this yesterday, and now I'm getting emotions. I mean, I'm sitting there watching a TV show the other day, and something sad happened, and I started crying. I could not believe it. I was like, what is going on? Am I freaking out? Am I having a nervous breakdown? I didn't know what was going on. I had to call my sponsor and ask him, I had to talk to him about it, because stuff like this never happened to me before. I was so numb to feelings that I didn't have them. I shut myself off completely. And that's what alcohol and drugs did for me. So I was scared. I was like really freaking out, what was going on. And he said, congratulations. He says, at least you haven't lost him, like some people have for, the cat. So, that's pretty much acceptance for me. Thanks.
Thanks, Kenny.
Yeah, same shit happened to me. I was watching her one Dalmatian.
Yeah. It totally freaked me out. Because I thought, well, I'm having something's wrong here. Something's totally wrong here.
Yeah, that's how I felt, yeah. I had a brain tumor or something.
Yeah. Yeah. But it feels good to be able to feel again. I mean, life is life. I mean, I can accept that and stuff. And there's things like now that, the ex-wife is keeping my kids from me. She's not letting them call. She's not letting, and to the life of me, I can understand why. I send her child support every week. It's weekly. Every week she gets it, and she says she turned around and told me, well, boys don't want to talk to you. But yet because they went to stay with my parents, I'm from Colorado, so my parents are there. They went to stay with my parents this summer. They didn't come down here because I was working on myself. And I talked to them every day when they were down there. Yet they go back and she won't let them go. This kind of stuff makes me angry and upset and stuff. But I doing the prayer thing, pray for her every night, and I gotta just let God do His thing. But it does make me angry, so, a lot of the times it does. There's no need for her to do that, But I guess we'll see what happens.
She's probably jealous because you're getting better.
Yeah, she'd rather see me dead or in jail. That's because she's told me to my, why, because I did a lot of things to her, and yes, but I guess all I can do is pray for her.
Yeah, they like to make us out that we're the whole problem anyway. Do you know how an Al-Anon shakes hands? Like this. And what does an Al-Anon see right before they die? Their alcoholic's life flashes before their eyes. My Al-Anon jokes. Who's next?
One thing when you were talking, thinking that my wives were sick. They married me. Really? I was a full-blown alcoholic. I married my first wife. And then I was just an ego-driven maniac, 5 years sober when I met my second one, who I only had 3 months sobriety. She was still doing her thing, but she wasn't drinking for 3 months. So, she saw a sucker like me and it took me to, took me to clean her. That was my fault. I put myself in both those situations. My fault. If I wasn't looking for an easy way out, both times, because the second wife said she had a lot of money too. She was using my credit card. Come to find out.
On your second marriage, how long were you sober?
I was sober 5 years. I decided I should go get married. It's about time. 5 years. Big 5 years. I thought I'd be drunk. Because I remember when I first got sober, I said, I'm going to stay sober 5 years. But I thought that was just an unbelievable amount of time. And then, I'm getting close to 5 years, I started sweating, and I made it a month or two past 5 years. Oh, it's time for me to get married. And I did. It wasn't even 9 months later I was married to a woman I didn't know when I made the decision to get married. That
No, it's to me, it's lonely. I mean, because I've always thrown myself in one group. I mean, I've been blessed, I guess, lucky to be able to, you know. And then now it was suggested to me not to get into a relationship for years, so I haven't even, you know, not that the girls are throwing themselves on me or nothing, but, you know, I haven't pursued it or looked for it like I would in the past. But, you know, to see people like yesterday I went to the game, I was fortunate to go to the baseball game and seeing couples together and, you know, hugging and holding. I mean, I miss that, you know, because it's very, very lonely for me here because I don't know a lot of people. My family isn't here. I can't just go, you know, see my parents. I miss them, you know. My kids aren't even, you know, they live in New Mexico, you know. So I don't have no family here at all. So I do throw myself into my program and into my work, and I have my sponsor, and I'm meeting people here and there, you know. But like I said, I don't let everybody know. I don't let a lot of people in. I don't, you know. And I've been pretty cautious about that too. But you know, like it's lonely, and you know, I figure, well, when am I going to be able to do this? But I, like I said, to pray about it, and worry about that when it comes.
That has a lot to do with acceptance. It's like when we try to make something happen that's not supposed to happen. That's opposite of acceptance. You know, we got to just do the work that's in front of us, or for me, I got to just do the work that's in front of me, and then leave the outcome up to God. And if that work didn't work out, do some more work and leave the outcome up to God. And I like how this line says, we don't have to run away, nor again try to overcome adversity by still another bulldozing power drive that can only push up obstacles before us faster than they can be taken down. It's like when I try to make things happen that aren't supposed to happen, I cause problems left and right. Our troubles are of our own makings. And if I try to cause a relationship to happen and it's not supposed to happen, in the long run I'm going to be real sorry about that. So, you know. So the best thing to do is just to do the work that's in front of me, and God knows your needs. He gave you you know, your desires. So He knows what we need, but we gotta wait for His time for some things, because if we push things, we can really be sorry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Broke.
You know.
Acceptance was real hard for me when I first came in. As I shared at my anniversary, I just thought I was called crazy. I was nuts. I had no clue that all was related to alcohol. But I got a taste of AA back in the 70s, and I tried to do this on my own. I'd have periods of sobriety here and there. You know, 6 months, 2 years was the max between 78 and 96. I thought there was definitely something really wrong with me. I did not want to accept that I was alcoholic. Because my parents, the way they drank and stuff, it was all their fault. But I was all screwed up. And I didn't want to be like that. So when I came through these doors again, which was a DUI, I come back in this time. Actually, I got back into the program after my son died from this disease. So and I was going to 3 meetings a day. And I couldn't even put 2 pieces of tape together. My mind was so screwed up. And by the grace of God, I feel that He did bless me with a DUI.
Mm-hmm.
Really. That was one of my blessings.
It didn't seem to be at the time.
No,
did it?
no. But I can remember after he passed away, I was going to meetings, and I cried. I mean, the whole year, I don't remember the first year or two. But I stayed sober during that time. Then my mother got killed. And that was just too much for me. It was within 4 months of each other. I can remember getting down on my hands and knees and going, God, I just hate you. I can't. My mind was just like, I didn't think I'd ever come back to reality. But I can remember saying that when I got the DUI in September, I can remember walking out of the jail, and I had a blackout. Like, I came to and inside the jail cell. I'll never forget that. But I remember little bits and pieces of ride to the jail, and I can remember I was handcuffed to this girl, and I told her, watch, I'll get us out of this. I can remember that, and going, watch, we'll get out of this van. I was claustrophobic where I did. I started hyperventilating. So when I started hyperventilating, it just manifested. It got worse. And I remember this guy pulled me in the back with this girl, both hands cupped together, and this guy beat the shit out of me. And he was on my chest, you know. And I was like out of it, but I came to real quick. I'm gonna forget that. And I had to call my sponsor at the time. I was never so humiliated in my life going, I said I would be true. But I isolated. I didn't go to meetings for 4 months. And I had a tendency to do that in the 7 years that I was sober. But it's a different kind of when I feel like I want to be by myself type of thing. Because I've gotten real close to God. And whatever's happened in my life, I had a sponsor tell me one time, get down on your knees and thank God for the pain that you've been through. I go, what are you, nuts? Because the pain that I was in at that time, I said, oh, I can't do that. I'm not going to get through this, you know? I'll never forget what she told me. And to this day, if I go through any type of pain, I thank God for the pain because I know I'm going to get through to the other side. Because I've got Him in my court. And I know that I go directly to Him on a daily basis, which I do. And just thank Him for waking up in the morning. And that I have got through the day, so I did it at home. But, you know, like you were talking about little resentments come up, those come up sometimes. And it's from all the stuff that happened. And when I catch myself doing that, I know that's the negative thoughts coming in. And that this disease talks to me. There's like this little angel on his side, this little guy that's negative sits on his shoulder talking. You know. When that happens, I really, a little thing I do that helps. But acceptance, when I got in here, I did not want to accept that I had the disease of alcoholism. Oh my God, how could it happen to me? That's my mom and my father. That's not me. Well, it hit 4 generations. And there's probably more generations I don't even know about. Some people are fortunate and don't have any alcoholics in their family. The powerlessness was easy. The acceptance was a big tough part. And I didn't think I was going to stay. After I used to come get my sheet signed for the first year. And I can remember being in the first meeting after getting out of jail going, I'm not going to stay here. You know, I'll get my sheet signed for you and then I'm out of here. Well, guess what? I like this way of life a lot better. Doesn't matter what I've been through, and sometimes I still get support and nothing like I was. And it's funny, last weekend, I had the most spiritual weekend of my whole life that weekend. My little nephew picked up a white chip. My brother picked up a white chip the next day. And it was just, a lot of things happened. It was like, oh my goodness.
So we're the fortunate ones that have alcoholics in the families, not the other.
Oh, now I know.
Right.
So now I know it's, you know, I have acceptance of my disease. And I accept that I'm not crazy. That's great. I can have fun, crazy times, but I'm not crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the alcohol that made me do some of the crazy things I used to do and the drugs. But, yes, I'm very fortunate. I'm very grateful that I am an alcoholic today. Oh, I couldn't say that the first 5 years I was coming in. This last year, it's just like, I'm going through stuff right now, but I've been given all kinds of suggestions from the books. That's how we deal with certain situations. And the thing that impressed me the most is I want to stick around for the miracles, and they're starting now.
Hello.
They really, really are.
Cool.
And I'm praying on my resentment right now. And I've left it all to God, what's going to happen to this situation. And I can deal with it. But I don't have to pick up a drink or a drug to get through the day or get through the feeling of the resentments or the anger or the pride. And if I need help, I pick up the phone and call my sponsor or a network. I have a balance today that I never thought I'd ever have. I mean, I was squirrely about 6-7 months ago. I was listening to doctors. That's a story in itself.
I like Bill's little saying here for resentments. God grant me the serenity to love their best and never fear their worst.
Yeah, that popped out at me.
That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, 'cause I'm not perfect and nobody's perfect. And there's people that get caught up in things. And when I start feeling confident, though, I ask God to humble me. Because that's a luxury I can't afford. That's when I start getting real confident, then I start getting cocky.
Mm-hmm.
When I start getting cocky, that's my old behavior. And I've learned that about myself in the last 7 years. I can't be too overly confident.
Right. It's God confidence.
That was the first thing when I was going through the steps. I asked this girl that was doing the steps. You know how you come in and you feel like you have no confidence, no self-esteem whatsoever. And I used to always help people, and I felt so selfish. I just went into a different world. And this was about 3 or 4 years ago. So am I ever going to be able to help people? Because I felt good doing it, but I felt so selfish. Because I was into myself and self-centeredness. She said, if you work the steps, everything will come that you're supposed to be doing. So, thank you.
Yes, hi.
I am Allison. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Alice.
And, this is my first time here. It's really interesting. First time I've ever read this here at all.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Yes. I've been going through a real tough time myself, and I know that I'm doing it to myself, but I'm at a point where I'm disconnected. I can see the problem starting hitting me real bad from 9/11. At that time, my brother was dying of cancer. And he asked me to go come and help him. And I got sober up north. And when I went back, I felt good about myself when I left in the whole 9 yards. And when I went back up there, I confessed to something that I didn't even do. And it went around like the Inquirer. And I'm having an awful hard time forgiving myself. I'm trying, I didn't drink, but I definitely feel like I'm going crazy.
Have you?
I've been praying on it, and I've been talking about it with my friends. And I'm really hurting about it. And I need to share it, get it out. I mean, I know that there's nothing in the drink, but I've actually had a lot of fear about, going crazy.
Mhm.
Why do I say things? Why do I open my mouth and say things that are detrimental to my own well-being? And, it goes back to the old story that I got a big mouth. And, I've always had that fear, with I wish the ground would open up and swallow me up. But when I got into AA, I started not to have that. I started to have love and faith, trust, and believing in myself and believing that God would help me. And I keep saying the prayer over and over again. But I'm actually going to go back to doing the first 3 steps. My life is unmanageable. I'm going right back to the first step. My life is unmanageable.
I was just going to say the same thing, that it sounds like the second step, that God can restore you to sanity, and that it is insane to do self-destructive things. But God either is or He isn't. God is either everything or He is nothing. And if He is everything, then there's hope for you. But the answers are in all the steps. Have you ever done a 4-step?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I did it. This once. I lost this once. I became too much for her. I finally got another one. And I've been kind of floating all over the place. I keep going to myself, and I keep talking to my friends, and I keep praying. And I go to church, and I got a Bible. That's something I wanted to do real bad, and I got it. And I got good people in my life, and I got a lot of things to be grateful for, and I'm doing that, praying and being grateful. I'm just not accepting myself for where I'm at. And that's why I can talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God for good friends. Cindy, thank you. She asked me if I wanted to go to church tonight. She asked me if I wanted to go here, and I said yes.
Good.
This is basically the only place I feel safe. And church, I feel safe too.
Yeah.
I used to know I belonged. Anywhere in the world, I feel like I belong. That's fine. And I want to get it back.
We have an answer today, and that's in the 12 steps. All 12 steps, not just the first 3. But unless the alcoholic continued to enlarge and perfect his spiritual life, he was doomed to die again. That's what Bill said. So the 10th, 11th, and 12th steps are there to enlarge and perfect our spiritual life. So it's not just the first 3 steps, but all the steps that you need to do to enlarge and perfect your relationship with God. But the answer is in the steps. And it's good that, God gave you that wisdom to know that yes, He is everything. And yes, He can help you, but that you got to do the work. And that's in all the steps. 10th and 11th and 12th especially too, to find your present reality and ask God to change it. Because He's the one that takes away our character defects. But you're in the right place, and I really appreciate you coming tonight. All right, I guess, did anybody else want to say anything else before we
Great meeting.
Okay, goody. Let's wind it up.